Hi, I'm JD. Welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and please hit like. And what I have here today is a depthing tool, and I've got it under my microscope camera right now, and I'm going to attempt something. So this depthing tool can be used for all kinds of stuff, typically used to mesh gears together. But I was talking to an individual, Dennis, at coffee on Wednesday, well, yesterday, and Dennis said that a little sip of something to drink here. Dennis said that maybe I could use a depthing tool to adjust the pallet fork jewels on this pallet fork I've been struggling with. And so this pallet fork goes into a plate. Let me show you how this works here. So this is the watch movement here, and the pallet fork would be installed long arm down like this, and then this would be installed in kind of this direction, and the jewels of the pallet fork would interact with the feet of the escapement wheel. So what I'm trying to do is make sure that interaction is correct. So I'm going to turn this around this way, like that, and I'm going to grab the escapement wheel, come on out, there we go. I'm going to turn this around this way as well. So I'm going to refocus here. So here I have the plate and the escapement wheel and pallet fork would interact in this way. I'm going to see if I can put this in very carefully. So we would have the pallet fork sitting like this, and I may have to lower my seat. There we go. I've got to get up really close here. So we've got the pallet fork. I can get the pivot inside the hole here. There we go. So the pallet fork is like this. And there's a little bit of dirt on that pallet fork. I just noticed I've got to clean up. I think I washed the pallet fork in alcohol, but it seems to be a bit messy right now. And the escapement wheel would go on in this hole right here, like this. And so the jewels on the pallet fork would interact with the escapement wheel. So let's get a little bit of a close-up. So as the escapement wheel would turn, it would lock and unlock the jewels. And what I believe is that the jewel settings here are actually too solid. They're too shallow. So they're not locking and unlocking properly. So this would push, basically, if I look at this side here, it would push the pallet fork in that direction. Just get the tweezers in here to see if I can explain it. Push the pallet fork in this direction here, and that's as far as it can go. And that would then lock. But I can see that right here it looks super shallow. It looks like it should be going out a bit more, because that would normally lock as the pallet fork or as the escapement wheel turns. And when it's going this way, it's pushing it like this, and it's locking on this side, but again, way too shallow. So the jewels, I believe, are tucked in too much, and that's my fault. They've got to come out a bit. So the first thing I need to do is I've got to figure out how I can move those jewels out safely. And I thought that the best way of doing this, without the fear of losing the jewels or stones, I guess you can call them, is to just get a chunk of Rodico, and I got some Rodico here that I use for all kinds of stuff, and just put the pallet fork into the Rodico, and that would allow me to adjust the jewels without the jewels actually having the fear of the jewels flying off, right? So that was my biggest fear, is the jewels just flicking, and then I've got no jewels. So let me just put this in Rodico. But what we're going to do, though, just before I do that, is we're going to use this depthing tool here. We're going to measure the distance between the two holes here, and we're going to adjust the depthing tool so the distance is accurate, and then we're going to align the depthing tool with these two gears and see if we can actually reproduce the interaction between the escapement wheel and the pallet fork. But I first want to see if I can move these jewels just a tad. So we're going to set myself up for that. So I can push the pallet fork onto the Rodico safely and kind of push it almost all the way down here. And then I'm going to see if I can move these jewels out. I do have a very fine set of tweezers. I bought, I think, 5 of these, and they're Voila tweezers made in Italy. Stainless steel anti-magnetic OC9. Incredibly fine on the end, finer than my brass tweezers. So I think I'll use these and see if I can grab the jewels here and move them. Now normally I would do this under a microscope, but I'm trying to show you guys how this would work. So let's just see if I can hold this down. I'm using my Bergeron 7010 stick here. Everything is backwards in my microscope. Bergeron 7010 stick, and this is just a synthetic stick here that just allows me to hold things in place while I move other things. So I want to just see if I can back these jewels out a bit. So that doesn't seem to want to move. Now, there might be some leftover shellac on these jewels as well, right? So I may actually have to heat these up. And as I've done before, I heated them up with a soldering iron. And what I don't want to do is flick this jewel and it goes flying. Because if I lose the jewel, that's it. It's game over. Yeah, I think these may need to be heated up. They may be heated up to relieve them from the setting, because I think that they're in there pretty darn good. I see I've got a bit of corrosion here, and I can get rid of that with this with my my stick. So another tool I have here, just before I try to move those jewels again, is I've got the Bergeron. This is a 6240, and this is a scratch brush with a pencil holder, and it's got glass fibers. So these fibers on the end are glass fibers. So I can extend this just a bit, because it'll provide a little bit of room for me. And then with the glass fibers, when I wipe down the pallet fork, these clean everything up. If there's a leftover Rodico on here, or not Rodico, but leftover shellac, which I think there is on this pallet fork, then I'm able to clean this up. And this is an old old, very old pallet fork. I'm just going to flip this around and have a look at the other side. Yeah, the side actually looks pretty good. You gotta love Rodico. If you're a Rodico lover, send me a note, because I think there should be a Facebook channel just called Rodico Lovers. Yeah, I know I'm going to have to heat this up with my soldering iron to relieve the stones from their settings. I'm calling them jewels. Well, they are jewels. They're stones. Just flip this around here, and the way I'm going to work with the interaction is the this side would be down anyway. So, and these. Yeah, these settings are in here really good. So I think this has to be heated up in order to relieve it. So before I do that, I think I'll just set up the depthing tool and see if I've got myself some kind of a solution there. So the first thing I'm going to do is make sure that these are level. So I oiled these yesterday. So they're not necessarily level, but I can level them off on a table just by pressing down. I can also use the inside of this plate and press down on it to make sure things are level. So I want to kind of loosen both of these up and then push down. Now I got to kind of estimate the horizontal or the vertical here as I level off on the horizontal. I think we're good there. And I tighten this up here. Now I want to make sure that the distance between these two holes is known. So I can turn this screw here, and that will close the depthing tool and open the depthing tool. It'll give me the appropriate distance. And that looks like the right distance right there. That's good there. I'm going to tighten this up. If I need to adjust it after, I will. Now I've got to make sure that they are the right distance apart again. There we go. So that's the measurement right there. And now I have to actually place the gears into this depthing tool. This is a tough part, I think. So I'm going to first of all put the escapement wheel on this side. So I'll loosen this up here. I think these are loose anyway. And I don't want to damage any pivots on the escapement wheel at all. But I know I may have to adjust a bit, some back and forth. So let me see if this actually works for me. I talked to a gentleman yesterday. He says he does this under a microscope. But I'm doing it in front of an audience right now. Move that back a bit. think it's the way I hold the whole thing is going to matter. Well, I'm going to have to get a thumb thing because I'm pushing the end of the sharp part of the depthing tool, and it actually hurts when you do that. So I need to put something on my thumb to allow me to press it. So I'm just going to take this cap here and put that on the end of my thumb. That'll allow me to press the tip of the tool. There we go. So that's in there, and I don't believe it's too tight. But now I'm going to tighten this screw here, which should ensure I've retained the distance. And I can, just to be safe, I can use a brush to move the gear. That way we've got no issues. And now the pallet fork, and I know that was this side is the bottom, this side is the top as it lays in that plate. So the pallet fork is going to go in like so. Yeah, so let me open that up. I'm going to have to turn the depthing tool sideways here a bit. That would go in like this. And once again, I need to put something on the end of my thumb to press the sharp, pointy part of the depthing tool. Well, I had it, and then I didn't have it. Let's try this again. It may actually be too tight now, so I have to pull it out a bit. Yeah, I'm going to pull this out just a bit, very carefully. What I don't want to do is disturb the distancing I had. And I can measure that with a micrometer again. So put on a little bit of a thumb protector. So if you do this, you've got to kind of have something on there that protects your thumb from. And I got to very slowly press. All right, that didn't work. I missed it. Back it off. I think for this video, once I get this set up, I'm going to publish this video and then we'll make another one for phase 2. But let's see with all right, so that's in there now. So I'm tightening this up and trying not to push on anything here. There we go. That's pretty tight there. That's tight there. This is absolutely tight. That's tight. So there we go. So that's now set up. And if you look at it from this perspective, you can see the interaction. So I just don't want to adjust this, but I got to adjust my camera to focus it. Just bear with me for a second. There we go. So now you can see that the pallet fork interaction with the jewels, they're a little bit off. I should have they're a little off, but they're still touching. And so now if I turn the I'm just going to turn this with my finger here. So you saw it kick that way, but you're basically, it's got to go the other way. The wheel's turning this way. So it goes that way, and you can see the jewel's not far enough out. So if you look at right here, you can see the jewel. This should have kicked the pallet fork all the way to the other side, and the jewel is too shallow right now. And what's happening is on the back of this pallet fork, there's a metal U that hits the actual shaft of the escapement wheel that stops it from going any further. So it only goes to that far. And then when the escapement wheel comes around, right, it would be unlocking it and then pushing it the other way. It would go that far, like that. And then the same interaction would happen on the other side. It would be unlocking it and then doing that. But the pallet fork jewels are way too shallow. They're passing by the feet of the escapement wheel without even interaction. So what I can do is move the jewels out just a tad and then remeasure the interaction to make sure I've got something that's workable, that it locks and unlocks properly. So we're going to do that. That'll be the next step. And I'm just going to stop right here, and we're going to create the video and then continue with phase 2. So I've got the escapement wheel still in the depthing tool, and I just want to check the distancing here. And yep, it's perfect. So the distancing is still really good. So I can leave this setup just like this, and then address the jewels on the pallet fork to move those out, which I'm going to have to heat them up to do that.